Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we will learn about the temporomandibular joint. The temporomandibular joint is a synovial joint which is present between the mandibular fossa of the temporal bone and the condyle of the mandible. Mandible has two condyles on the right and left rami, and both collectively act as a single unit, thus they are called as a bicondylar joint. First of all, we will see the condyles. The condyles are arranged at right angles to the ramus of the mandible. So, this is the condyle and this is the neck of the mandible. If we see at the lateral view, that will appear like this. So, this is the condyle. If you see, the condyle is more convex towards its anterior side than the posterior side, and a fovea or a depression is present on the anterior aspect of the neck, which is for the insertion of the lateral pterygoid muscle. So, if we see the length, this is about 20 millimeters, and if we see from anterior posterior, that means from the front to back, it is like if this is the half of this, so 10 mm, it will be like that. If we see both condyles, they are arranged in such an angle, so that if this is the mandible, they are arranged in such an angle that their axis, if it is extended, it forms a circle which passes through the anterior margin of the foramen magnum. So, this is the angle at which they are arranged. The lateral angle, the lateral pole is a little bit anterior than the medial pole. So, this is about the condyles like this. So, now we will see the mandibular fossa. The mandibular fossa is present in the squamous part of the temporal bone. This is the mandibular fossa in the squamous part of the temporal bone, which presents in its anterior aspect an articular tubercle. This is the articular tubercle or the articular eminence. Then the mandibular fossa has an anterior articular part and a posterior non-articular part, and it is separated from the external acoustic meatus by means of this part is the squamo-tympanic fissure. So, a squamo-tympanic fissure is present here. So, this is the parts of the mandibular fossa. Now, the mandibular condyle fits here like this. This is the coronoid process, neck of the ramus, now the ramus like this. So, the mandible is like this. So, now the bones forming the joints are the temporal bone and the condyle of the mandible. Now, we will see what are the ligaments present in this joint. As it is a synovial joint, there should be a space and there should be a joint capsule. So, joint capsule is attached in front at the upper aspect to the articular tubercle and to the neck of the mandible. Then it surrounds the joint and attached to the articular fossa, and posteriorly it is attached to this squamo-tympanic fissure and attached to the neck of the mandible like this. So, this is the joint capsule. This is the joint capsule lining. This entire joint is covered by the joint capsule. Then comes another ligament is the lateral ligament. The lateral ligament blends with the lateral surface of this capsular joint, is attached to the zygomatic bone, zygoma of the temporal bone, and to the below to the neck of the mandible like this. We'll change the color. So like this. This is the lateral ligament which is supporting the joint from the lateral aspect. There are two accessory ligaments. One is the stylomandibular ligament. From the styloid process to the angle of the mandible, there is a ligament called stylomandibular ligament, and another ligament is on the medial aspect, the spinomandibular ligament, from the spine of the sphenoid which is present on the inner aspect and to the lingula of the foramina, the mandibular foramen. On the medial aspect of the ramus, there is a mandibular foramen and a lingula, a small projection is present, and the spinomandibular ligament, which is the remnant of the fibrous covering of the Meckel's cartilage, is attached there. So these two stabilize the joint, so they are called accessory ligament. Another ligament is the articular disc, which is present within the joint. That is the peculiarity of this joint. The specialty of this joint is presence of an articular disc within the joint, which separates. An articular disc is present here. This is the lateral capsule, joint capsule, and an articular disc is present from here like this. So this is the articular disc. This separates the joint cavity into an upper meniscotemporal compartment and a lower meniscomandibular compartment. So there are two compartments in this joint by means of this articular disc. This also acts as another ligament. This articular disc is attached to the joint capsule in front, and also it blends with the upper fibers of the lateral pterygoid muscle. The lateral pterygoid muscle is inserted here, and the fibers from the upper head are joining the articular capsule and the articular disc. So this is the lateral pterygoid. And the joint surfaces of the both bones, that means the upper mandibular fossa and the condylar head, they both are covered by means of fibrocartilage. Synovial joint should have hyaline cartilage, but here the hyaline cartilage is not there. The fibrocartilage is present because these bones are developed with intramembranous ossification. So that's why they are covered with fibrous cartilage. Now the articular disc, if you see, anteriorly is attached to the capsule of the joint, and it is continuous with the lateral pterygoid muscle, and the upper surface is concavo-convex and the lower surface is purely convex here. Coming to the posterior end, the articular disc divides into two lamina. The upper lamina is attached to the squamotympanic fissure, and the lower lamina is attached to the neck of the mandible. And I already told you there are two poles like this. This is the medial pole and the lateral pole. The disc is present here. This medial pole and the lateral pole is attached to the disc at two places by means of thick fibrous bands like this, at two places. So, one is here and another one is here, like this. So, at two places the articular disc has thick bands. These bands attach this disc to the medial pole and lateral pole at two places. One is anteriorly, one is posteriorly. So, like this. So, by the presence of these bands, this articular disc can be divided into an anterior extension, anterior thick band, intermediate zone, and a posterior thick band and a bilaminar zone. So, due to these attachments, this menisco-mandibular compartment moves as a single unit within the and glide in the menisco-temporal compartment. So, this facilitates the movements of the mandible, especially in side to side movements and in a movement around a transverse hinge. Hinge type action will be there while moving the mandible. So, these are the ligaments which are present here. This joint gets its blood supply from the articular branches of the mesenteric blood vessel, superficial temporal artery, and it gets its nerve supply from the mesenteric nerve, auriculotemporal nerve, and the articular branches of the maxillary branches. So, this is about the temporomandibular joint. Now, we have to look at the possible movements there. There are four possible movements. One is protrusion. That means, if we see in a normal condition, the teeth will be separated by a little gap, but in protrusion they will move as a occluded one. So, protrusion means forward movement where the mandibular teeth comes in front of the maxillary teeth. Then retraction means again gaining the normal position. Another two movements are the depression. The depression is possible while opening the mouth, and the elevation, that means closure of the mouth. Another movement is possible is side to side movement. Side to side movement, that means during chewing we will see this. So, how these movements are possible we will see. Now, if you to understand this, we have to remember the attachment of the muscles. The lateral pterygoid muscle is inserted, you can see here, in the pterygoid fovea, which is present in front of this neck of the mandible and also to the joint capsule and the articular disc of the joint. This articular disc is nothing but the remnant of preliminary insertion of this lateral pterygoid muscle. So, if this contracts, especially the lower head contracts, what happens is it pulls the neck forward. It pulls the neck and this disc forward. Thus, it glides in this joint so that it glides like this, so that this part goes down. That means the mandible opens, depresses, that means it goes down, thus the mouth is opened. The lateral pterygoid, due to the contraction of this lateral pterygoid, the mandible is depressed so that the mouth is opened. It also assisted by the contractions of another muscles, that is the suprahyoid muscles, which are the mylohyoid and anterior belly of digastric muscle. So, these muscles help in depression of the mandible. Also, the gravity also helps in depression of mandible. Then, if we see, this is the coronoid process, and temporalis muscle is inserted here. The temporalis muscle under the zygomatic arch it is inserted like this. The most posterior fibers are almost horizontally present, if you remember, like this, and the anterior fibers are vertically oriented, like this. So, the closure of the mouth is done by the contraction of this temporalis muscle, the masseter muscle, which is attached from this part to the anterior part of the zygomatic bone, like this. So, this is the masseter. This masseter muscle pulls the mandible up, especially the deep fibers and the medial fibers, they pull up. Then the temporalis also pulls this coronal process, and the medial pterygoid muscle, which is present on the medial aspect also, if it contracts, it pulls the mandible up. They all pull the mandible against the gravity. So, they form rough surfaces on the mandible. So, especially these posterior fibers, if they contract, will the clenching, the tight closure of the mandible is possible. So, this is how the mandible is closed. If the muscles, the lateral pterygoid and the medial pterygoid muscle of both sides act alternatively, the mandible can move side to side like this. Side to side movement is possible due to the contraction of medial pterygoid and the lateral pterygoid acting alternatively. Okay. So, this is how these muscles are formed. Then, if only lateral pterygoid muscle is contracted, what happens? The forward movement of the mandible is possible. So, thus it is causing protrusion. The masseter also helps there, and retraction is done by the masseter and the posterior fibers of the temporalis muscle. So, these are the 4 types of movements possible at this joint. With this, we conclude the temporomandibular joint here. In the next class, we will come with another interesting topic. Until then, we will wait. So, please do like, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you very much. Click the bell icon so that you can get the latest updates immediately. Thank you very much.